So Cheryl is here as a member of the Belchertown Nipmuc Farm Conservation Alliance, and also will you speak about your other positions?
Yes, I'm a council person for the Hassanamisco Nipmuc Band, and we are coordinating with local residents, Belchertown and surrounding areas, to help push the effort forward to rematriate Lampson Brook to the Nipmuc people. This would be a landmark effort because it's the first time that the state would be returning land to indigenous people.
Okay.
So
all right.
We have a chance here in Belchertown to really do a tremendous thing.
All right. Can you tell me a little bit more about which part of the, the Lampson Brook Farm are you wanting to rematriate, and what are you planning to do with it if you succeed?
So the parcel of Lampson Brook as a whole would be what we are considering as land to be returned to the tribe for the purposes of food sovereignty and clean land, clean water. We would be working in a cooperative effort with the farmers that are already there on the land. I believe it's Nesby and a few other groups that are currently leasing the land. It would be something where they could remain where they were. They wouldn't need to leave or terminate any contracts, so we want to work with them. It would be an effort to bring our traditional ecological knowledge to the residents of Belchertown in an effort to share with them as well. So the farmers here are learning from us, we're sharing with them. It's a very reciprocal relationship.
This sounds really interesting, and we will be interested to watch your progress. And of course, you'll let us know if there's anything else we can do to help.
No, that would be great. And I hope you come by at 11/2 to see Larry, Spotted Crow Mann, from our tribe as well. And he'll be doing a presentation on our culture.
You might remember Ellie, who has been a very active part of the Agricultural Commission, but she's here today as a representative.
Just briefly want to add a word of my support as a farmer in Belchertown, and also a food systems expert. I will say that this rematriation effort would go a long way towards securing our food webs for generations to come, particularly with what's going on with federal funding cuts that have supported our small local food webs. This effort would be an antidote to all of that.
All right, so that is the Belchertown Nipmuc Farm Conservation Alliance.
Our website is lampsonbrook-landback.org. And that'll bring you to all of the information that you need. The bill that had been at one point written, and it's just kind of in a holding pattern right now. You can reach out to Senator Jake. You can reach out to some of the representatives to help support and move the bill forward.
I just want to start off and saying a little bit about myself and how I got here, and I'm going to share a couple songs and some stories and things like that. Sound good with you all? All right. So nina ho kan kantu cho kaseche. Minuchi ayem no have mila. Na shana tu momentu. Tabani. Wutu chicken sin. Okumis. Tabani wuchi sabosi. Usakati huonat. Notas ni womenontiok. King nota yu pantaminuk. Nameo ninuan me quantum kicha. Ka mata wanantam. Ka nagutie kokutam ninuan. Manatu. Usakati huonat. Womenetio. Ka nosoko musu amoke, ninoho kenkantu chokesiche. Nyayo. The bani menatu, niwachi ayem nohad ninawak. The bani menatu, niwachi, all of you here today. I don't have a word for that. If you did not understand what I said, you probably didn't realize I was speaking the original language of this land. The language that's been spoken on this land for thousands of years. The first language of the people here, my ancestors, and that language has persisted on despite all the losses that we had. So it was an honor to open up and greet you in that way, to help us kind of set the understanding of and set that place of where we're all going to kind of try to land in that understanding of how the land speaks. And as my late cousin, who was our language teacher, once said, our language is an ecology of the space that we're on. So all the words reflect the land, the grasses, the waters, the lakes, the rivers, the sky, and the stars, and all the different animals, and the human beings, the Nipmuc, the two-legged around us. So it's a very connecting thing that the language, the land, the people, and all the different things are one. So as I said in that language, I'm Larry Spotted Crow Mann, enrolled citizen of the Hassanamisco Nipmuc. I've been a traditional storyteller, drummer for all my adult life, over 30 years. I'm a writer, cultural educator, performer, executive director of the only native-led organization, the Okiteo Cultural Center. I've had the privilege to travel the world with my books and my writings and share about the Nipmuc people. Something was surprising me when I spent time in Europe is that they know quite a bit about Native Americans that are here. Unfortunately, I think they know a little bit more than some of our local folks. But that's why I do this work. That's what inspires me to continue to share that work about who we are as a people. And before I talk any further, I want to share a welcoming song. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Nipmuc people. So this is a Nipmuc welcome song.
Hey yo, hey yo, hey ya. Hey yo, hey yo, hey ya. Hey ha, hey ha, hey ha. Good job.
Thank you. So be a little Native trivia as we go along. Did you realize, did anybody know that Native people did not clap? And when they first saw the Europeans clapping, they thought, what are they doing? What's wrong with their hands? Is something on it they're trying to get off? So that's no kidding there. So I share a little bit about my work, but so a little bit about my family. I'm what you call first generation city. My mom and all the family prior to that grew up on the farmlands and tribal enclaves throughout the Nipmuc homelands. The Nipmuc homelands was once a vast area comprising almost 2,000 square miles in Massachusetts alone and going into 4 states, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and the tip of New Hampshire, encompassing 5 major rivers from Long Island Sound to the Gulf of Maine. That's the Connecticut River, the Quinnebog by the way of the Thames, the Blackstone, the Charles, and the Merrimack were all their homelands of the Nipmuc people. Since colonization, the loss of lands have been devastating, reducing this massive area to 5 acres in the Grafton Reservation. We call it now identify as Hassanamisco, which we are all the descendants of. And in between that time of loss of land, our family persevered, and also while we persevered, we continue to find a way to balance our lives and our culture and with this new country that was forming around us. And by doing that, we served in the Revolutionary War. I have 2 great, I don't know how many you go back, grandfathers who served. Christopher Vickers and Samson Hazard. So I'm a son of the Revolution. How about that? And we have over 60 relatives who served in the Civil War for the Union Army. And I wrote a play about that some years back entitled Freedom in Season that premiered at the Double Edge Theater up in Ashfield, Massachusetts. And so while that the Civil War was going on. Native people were being put in boarding schools, including our ancestors. The lands were usurped because all the men were off fighting and women weren't allowed to own land, so their land was being summarily taken from them. And so we've done our best to try to find our way to survive within all that. And one of the ways was to continue our traditional crafts like basket making. Some of those fancy baskets you see on eBay now were once sold for $1, just so a native family in Nipmuc family could feed their family because they weren't allowed to get the jobs. As Ellis Island would say, give us your hungry or poor, and the native people were not allowed because we were faced with signs that says things like no dogs or Indians allowed. And so despite that, we persevered on, fighting in every war. Native people, by per ratio of their population, served more in the military than any other race. However, we suffered the most disproportionate amount of health, suicide, diabetes, and all the different things that encompass living in a impoverished and marginalized community that we've had to face. You can't go to school to learn the language. You can't go to school to learn the drum and the culture and to make traditional rattles for our paddle songs, which I'll share in a moment. So we did all these things in spite of what was taken from us, and in spite of being told that these things have no value. And so we realized it has a great value because this connection to the land that we have that sacred knowledge of this land, as traditional educational knowledge as it's sometimes called, that we have a deep understanding of the way the water moves, how the land grows, and all the different aspects of how to plant and grow, much like how we taught the first colonizers who came here to help them out. So that knowledge is now being acknowledged and shared on a scientific level throughout the country, and recognizing it for the values that it has. And we have a saying in our culture. It's called all my relations. Understand that if you affect one thing, you're affecting another. That's right, all my relations. And science has another word for that. They call it quantum physics. And it's the idea that everything is all connected as one. And I mentioned all the different waters, so I want to share one of our paddle songs, because as I mentioned, the Nipmuc homelands are all the waterways were our highways and how we traveled and traversed. And we actually were just on a few projects making what we call the dugout machoons, where fire is our tool. And we get a log, and we pick a specific log that's going to be used, and we'll use the fire to carve it out and make the designs. And then it's a nice boat that goes along the rivers that we use for travel, trade, and just traveling and doing different things that we need to do to sustain our lives. And doing that traveling down the many rivers, the Connecticut, the Merrimack, the Quabog, and so on, we'd have songs such as this that we would share. Oh yeah, oh way na, way na, way na, way na. Ayana, we ana, we ana, we ana, we ana, we ana. Ayana, we ana, we ana. Yo way na. Kiti ang nuwichi nipi awayam. Nipikiti ang nuwichi nenawan. Chimoche munake, chimoche munake, chimoche munake, Yahweh Yah. So that song, thank you. So the translation of that word is paddle strong, warriors paddle strong. We live for the water lives for us. And that's also been translated into English as water is life. These songs and this language is very ancient, and it goes back BC. Well, so Native people, we have I know that they measure time through BC, or they changed that now, but we have actually 3 BCs that we use to measure our time, our linear time. The first BC is before Columbus. And, things got a little crazy. He thought he discovered something, but didn't happen. And the second BC is before Custer. And, Custer came and, we all know how that story went. And the third and final BC is before casinos. All right, so if y'all enjoyed that song, would you guys like to sing a song with me? Yeah. All right, so here we go. I'm going to do it the first time, and then you guys are going to have a turn. It goes like this. So listen up good, and then it's going to be your turn. Ayane oh yene ayane ho. Ayane ho yene ayane ho. Ayane ho yene. Yo ho we hey yo. Hane. Okay, ready for that? Sure. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Hayane ho yene hayane ho. Hayane ho yene hayane ho.
All right, wow. Okay, I gotta admit, y'all were better than I thought you'd be. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, so, all right, we're gonna follow through with the joke anyway, because y'all were better than that. So, okay, I'm gonna do one part. So you folks over here, can you say yo ho? Over here, say we ha. And the folks will be say yo hey.
Yo hey.
So it's yo ho, we ha, yo hey.
Yo hey.
So that's your part. So it's yo ho, we ha, yo hey. So one more time.
Yo hey.
Okay. All right. So I'll have my part, then I'll cue you. Your part. Here we go. Ayane ho, yene ayane ho. Ayane ho, yene ayane ho. Ayane ho, yene.
Yo hey.
All right. Not bad. Thank you. Good job. Any questions y'all want to ask? Because I think that'd be very informative too if I can answer any questions as I talk and sing. Because I also was a teacher for over a decade, so I can talk. So I want to share the time with y'all to answer questions. And so an important thing I just would share too is that the Nipmuc people, we continue to try to sustain and rebuild our community despite all the loss. Today we have a farm that we're feeding our people, we're feeding our community. We are focused on our culture, we're focused on protecting the land. And although I joke about casinos, we're not interested in any gaming because we find better ways to sustain and be a partner, a community partner with our neighbors through other sustainable ways to build infrastructure, to build growth, and to build an economic development that makes sense for the land and for the people all around.
Woo!
So that's very exciting for us. Yes?
So, what should we do instead of clapping? So, since you brought up that we didn't originally clap, now I feel like on the spot about clapping.
No, please clap. It's part of the culture. But so Native folks, they didn't clap as I mentioned. They were just kind of, yeah. I think maybe that's where the stoic thing stereotype comes from. But because they didn't clap, they thought they were being stoic. But yeah. All right. So I want to share another song. And before I do that, once again, I'll mention I'm the executive director of the Okiteo Cultural Center. We're doing all kinds of amazing work in culture, education, health and wellness. We have partners such as the Boston Athletic Association, Museum of Science in Boston, the Eric Carle Museum, which I believe is not too far from here. We're working with many organizations to not only revitalize culture, but bring education. We have curriculum development that we're working with schools on to bring more awareness about diversity and culture. I have many of my books over there that are available. And all my stories, such as my book, Drumming and Dreaming, all the stories reflect this land here, especially the story of Sky Bear that takes place here in this area of Tentasqua as we go around this area. So it's really exciting to share that and always speak here. As I said, I've been as far as places as, where's as far as I've gone? Maybe close to Chile, Ecuador, the Andes, Sweden, that's pretty far. So all the different places I've traveled, there's always my most favorite places to be on Nipmuc homelands. And this is where I get my energy and where I get my my voice to share about the people of the land. As I said, all my family comes from farmers. They're very intimate with the land. We grew tobacco, we grew all the different vegetables there. And so it's really exciting to continue on that practice, to bring that knowledge of the land that we carry. And so, yes, thank you. If there's no more questions, I'm going to go jump into a song. Good job. Can anybody guess what language that was in? I don't like that, but I did it anyways. Silly, yeah. It's a silly thing to do. Actually, it's not. It's the Dene, a very different language. So a lot of times when we share songs, much like I'm speaking to you in English now, it's not my original language of my ancestors. We also share tribal variations of languages. So that song I just sang in was a gift from some relatives from the Navajo Nation out in the Southwest. Very different language, and that's what the language of that song was in. And as a drummer, through the years, I've learned several different languages, and so I'll sing a song now in the Cree language, and that's an interesting fact I'll share as well. Is that there are over 800 tribes, federal and state tribes throughout the country, and although Native Americans are about 2% of the population in the United States, we make up 50% of the cultural and linguistic diversity in the entire country. I'll say that again. Of all the different cultures, we make up half of it with our distinct languages, cultures, and so that's a very important note to make, that Native people are not a monolith. We're very distinct languages, cultures, tribal governances, and lands, and so that's something that a lot of folks probably don't realize. So this next song, I think I'll share. So Ojibwe and Anishinaabe. Any Anishinaabe people here? It's that language. Oh, get you down, 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 Thank you. I'm desperately trying to hide from my son too. He's like getting me. And oh no, I have this one. This is a good one. So I'm also, some of the things I love to do, I'm a surfer, so I spend a lot of time in the water. And so I use a lot of sunblock, and the wetsuit kind of protects you too, so. Story, so if all the children want to come around, I don't know how much time I have left. But as we say, the stories that we share are not just for children, they're for all life. The way we share knowledge and education was through story. Everything that we've known to sustain this land for thousands of years was through a story. They codify our existence. They teach us ways of balance, diplomacy, conflict resolution, science, and laughter. And so I want to share this story. I don't know if I can take this mic off, because I like to move around. It's kind of, I can't move. That's okay. So if you ever hear a native story or the things about native culture, you'll always hear stories about the animals and how they spoke to the people and all the different aspects of that. Well, it's true. Much like you hear today, somebody will say, we talking to flowers, but native people were talking to trees and flowers before it was cool. And there's a science behind that we know that the communication, the reciprocity of breath and oxygen, and that communication, there are vibrations always going on. And before I go in that, I think that just reminded me of something important I want to share about this drum. Can anybody tell me what that is?
Heartbeat.
That is the heartbeat. And as a drum keeper, I remember my grandfather telling me about this is the center of all that we are. Now, even though this is how we connect, everything has a heartbeat. A blade of grass, the water, down on the molecular level, everything is vibrating just like this. It has a heartbeat. The stones right there. We're all made of the same stuff. And so, regardless of what color your skin may be, what language you speak, what type of hair you have, or if you have no hair, I have hair, I promise. The hat's not hiding it. But regardless of what language or where you come from, on the inside, everybody, I want everybody to realize we're all doing this. That's it. This is what we are, right here. So if we could just connect on this level, the next time you're talking to someone and you may feel they're different, remember, this is what they are and this is what you are. Try to connect on that level, and all that other stuff will just melt away. And that was the way of our people, connecting here. This is how we heal the world. This is how we come together. So, with that, I want to share this little story. I see some kids coming around. You want to hear a story? All right. So, I seen some dogs walking around here, so I think I'll share a dog story. So long ago, it was this way. Long ago, it was this way. On this land, the dogs and the puppies spoke to the human beings just as we did now. The doggies spoke to the human beings just as they did now. But it's important to remember, indigenous people, native people, they ain't perfect. Nobody's perfect. So the Nipmuc here, and that's the word for the human beings, the Nipmuc here lost their way to communicate with the animals openly. The birds, the dogs, the trees, the deer, atuk. And so they had to work a little harder for it. And that's kind of another story. We talk about the maple trees. How long ago the trees would just, the sap would just come out as sweet as you want to be. But the people got lazy, so you have to work for it now. It teaches us lessons of work. But that's a different story. So anyways, because the Nipmuc lost their way, they lost their connection with that language. And so this story takes place in a doggy village not far from here. And one day, a little puppy dog was talking to his mommy dog. And the puppy dog said, "Mommy, I heard there was a time when we can communicate with human beings. Is that true? Because I want to talk to them." And the mommy dog said,
Yeah, that was a long time ago, but the human beings in Nipmuc, they're crazy. We got to stay away from them, not to be trusted. But Mom, I want to talk to a human being. No, do not do that. They're very dangerous. Oh, Mom. And so, I'm sure we all heard that before. And so as time goes on, you know, the little puppy dog went about his business. But then one day, the mommy dogs and daddy dogs, they all had to go to a big meeting somewhere in another village. And they left the teenage dogs in charge. Yeah, you can know how that went. So anyways, the teenage dogs are in charge, all the puppies, and are hanging out, and they're fooling around, as you can imagine. And you remember that little puppy dog? He's with his friends, he's in his friend circle there. And he says, you know what? My mom said we're not supposed to talk to dogs and things like human beings, but you know what? I think we should talk to human beings. Matter of fact, I think I can be a human being. And his best friend said, what are you talking about? You're a dog. You wag your tail. You're walking around on all fours. We can't talk. We're nothing like human beings. You're silly. I'm not that silly. I can even stand up and walk like one. So in that moment, that little puppy dog tried to stand up and walk like a human being. And of course, he fell back down. He tried again and fell back down. And as he tried, the teenage puppy dogs started laughing. Ah, look at him. Look at that silly puppy trying to walk like a human being. And after they made fun of him, his best friend was upset because he thought only I can make fun of my best friend. So he said, I have an idea. So just as the puppy dog stood up, his best friend stood up with him. And they locked arms. And because they locked arms, they were able to hold each other up and balance. And next thing you know, they're moving around, they're dancing a little bit, square dancing, round dancing if you're native. And they were moving around, having a good time. And then when they saw that, all the other puppy dogs saw that, they did the same thing. And then the teenage dogs also did it. So all these dogs are dancing around with their tails, with their wagging their tails and all that. Then he says, wait a minute. We are wagging our tails, so we're kind of looking like human beings because we're standing up, but we got these tails. So the puppy reached around and boop, he pulled his tail off, set it down. And then all the dogs, boop, 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 they all pulled their tails off and threw it in a huge pile. And now they're dancing, looking like human beings. But then suddenly, oh no, the mommies and daddy dogs are coming back sooner than expected. This is, oh no, we can't be caught doing this. So all the dogs at the same time dove into the pile of tails to get their tails back down. They was scurrying around. There was dust flying everywhere. They rolled around, and the brown dog put on the white tail by mistake. The white dog put on the black tail. The black dog put on the brown tail. Everybody put on the wrong tail. Oh, it was a mess. And I have to tell you, ever since that day, dogs have had a problem. And you've probably seen it. There's a dog right there. So when one dog sees another dog, the first thing it does is goes around the back and says, is that my tail? Thank you. I'd like to close out with a round dance song. If y'all want to form a circle, I want to share a song. I thank you for indulging me and listening. And to learn more about, go to Hassanamisco.org, .gov actually, or Okie Cultural Center to learn more about my work, or you can Google me, Larry Spotted Crow Mann. I'm prolific. That's a good thing. Sometimes it's not. I'm easy to find. Thank you all once again for hearing, and we hope to see more and keep the relationship going. There's so much to share, so much to bond over and talk about. we are Yahweh, we are, we are, we are, hi, we are, hi, all right. Thank you all so much. We'll be over here at the table. Thank you everybody who was responsible for helping put this event together, to bring people together. Thank you all for the hard work. Good the bottomish. Thank you.